baby. Hopefully that's working. We're gonna pull up the computer. Jeez Louise, 38 responses. We're gonna share this link on Discord. Give me a second. If you're joining right now, I cannot see a thing. I need to pull up the live stream myself so I can watch me watching you watch me. We geek together. Ooh, okay. Hey, okay. Wow, I look terrible. That's fine though. Let's scoot this back a bit. Okay. Hey, thanks for following the survey. I appreciate that. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? You're the only person here who I can check to see if the survey actually worked. Or is audio working? I'm not hearing anything on my computer. No, I'm not. No audio. Oh, you can? Okay, good. Okay. Thank you, thank you. Okay, well, I'm glad you guys can hear me. I have already gotten almost 40 responses. So that's super awesome. I'm gonna post real quick just in the Discord if anybody else wants to join in. Then they can in live. If you wanna join the convo, check out the live here. Boom, 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 boom. Great. What a great thumbnail. Okay, cool. Rad shirt. Hey, check out. Now that the game is over, I can rep maybe one of my favorite factions. I still can't admit which one's my favorite faction, but I do really like the Unbound. They're such a cool faction. the game's over now. Nobody can say I'm biased or anything. I waited. All right. I did my due diligence. Okay, we're gonna open up this feedback here. I love already how many people are replying back. So, okay, let's go over the good. Okay, we knew you loved the Unbound the most. Yeah, it wasn't very hidden. Let's go over the good, and then let's dig into the bad and the ugly. Okay, so with 40 responses, we had one of the first ones is they liked the app. Okay, and I'll talk about the app in a bit, but we also did like the app too. That was my partner Kevin GM Dice who made that, and I'll see if there's any negatives about the app, but I want to talk about that. The vendors. Big plus to have the vendors. The vendors having in-game effects, great. I love that. The announcements at the end of the faction's successes was great. Love hearing those messages. Good. The ending, the ending was super fun. It was always fun to see the scale of the community all dressed up having fun together. Was really neat. It's also fun to see the Duke. Yeah, the Duke was such a treat to work with us. He doesn't really charge us. He just has us like pay for his travel time. But being that he's like, like a D&D influencer, he could say, hey, you're gonna have to pay me $5,000 or $10,000 to show up at an event. So the fact that he's like, hey, if you just cover our tickets to come, we'll show up. Huge. I can't speak well enough about the Duke. He's a real one. The Ultimate Weapon side quest was fun. Good. That's the first act, I believe. I loved having people at the tables have a bit of say in the actual game, and that it was all adaptive to what each faction wanted to do. Now, my guess is I might see some negatives about people complaining that they didn't have enough say, so we'll see. That really depends on how interactive your captain was. we'll talk about captains. The mini painting was so fun. Good. We have an adorable painting crew. Blue is her name, Mama Blue. She comes and does paint class every Tuesday in our gaming tavern. So she helped run the painting. Collaborative atmosphere, love that. I liked the competitive nature of the game. I know you're on a live stream. Please don't read this, so I'm not going to read it. Okay. I liked the team aspect as far as factions. It was a nice way to include everyone without the chaos and dead time of the group huddle and the skill challenges. Okay. Kuro Darkness said, oh yeah, love the painting tables and the chance to try out different systems like Daggerheart and Stormlight. Yeah. So we had our game masters running a bunch of games over here for free. So it was really cool that my dungeon masters helped with all of that. And it was cool to play other systems because I strongly encourage people to play other systems. Like, yes, we do D&D and our world record game is D&D, but like, there's other systems out there I adore way much more than D&D. And if I could do the world record game with a different system, that might happen one day. Chris, if Provo Town Center renovates, is there a chance your store is going to move into a bigger store? Hey, Chris, yeah. So if those of you who don't know, Provo Town Center just announced they're doing renovations to the entire mall. They're ripping out the entire roof of the mall. It's becoming an outdoor mall. Some people are comparing it to the one in Salt Lake. That's kind of an outdoor mall. They're citing there's a lot of reasons for it, like heating and cooling a space like this is so much money, and also security is a big thing. You have to pay for security guards to be indoors at all times, which is something that you don't have to do with an outdoor venue. Gateway, the one that has like the train station? No, that's City Creek. City Creek. People are comparing it kind of to City Creek. If you look at the pictures of in the article, there's a roundabout with cars driving through it. That roundabout is where the stage was for the Dead Wars, in that center rotunda. When our renovations start, are you temporarily moving places or just temporary closing we need together? Gateway. Okay. Thank you, Tracus Gaming. Yes Gaming. I'm sorry. I'm terrible at names. Renovations, we have no clue. Right now, it's a mall negotiation, or the mall is negotiating with Provo. So there's no timeline on this. The city, Provo, has to approve these plans. Once Provo approves of the plans, then it will go to contractors. Then we'll start getting estimates on times. I've been assured by the mall management they'll do everything they can to make sure it's a smooth transition, that it doesn't impact our business, but there's no promises. We'll see. I would love a new shiny store that I could help build from the ground up. That would be a dream. But we don't know what the future holds. Okay, back to the positive feedbacks. They like the panels. Love the simplicity of Act 1, allowed for fun role play and easy for DMs. Having the same path no matter the choice of the players. Well, there was a lot of choices, but I'm glad it allowed for easy times. They mentioned easy for DM, so this might be a DM who's saying that, so that's good. I loved having the groups fighting against each other, playing at the same time, same day. It really united us and made for some great moments. Table decorating. Hey, that's awesome. I unfortunately was only able to attend the game itself. All right, that's a good positive. I learned how to paint a mini. The mall quest was super fun. Seeing all the captains and everyone repping the different factions was a great experience. The time updates were great. Pacing of the narrative was good. Loved the idea of having different options for the group. Like, even if factions PvP story was a one-time thing, I liked our table being part of a specific group with a larger narrative. The whole environment was very welcoming, and every player from my table that I've talked to since has been raving about how much fun they had. That's awesome. Oh, okay, Chris, did you know MTV filmed a movie of the Provo Town Center? Wait, Chris, you mean this movie, The American Mall, that I so happen to have the last DVD copy from Amazon? Yes, I'm very aware that they filmed an MTV video. In fact, knowing that the mall is going to tear off the roof, I want to schedule a watch party of this and see if we can do like a big sleepover in the mall before it all changes. So I'll talk to the mall, see if that's possible. I would love to do kind of one final hurrah for the old Provo Town Center before it changes to modern day stuff. I am excited for the renovations and stuff. I'm hesitantly hopeful. I think it's a good call overall. So we'll see. We'll see. Love the game setup as a whole. The vendors were great. Mostly, I just want to throw dice. I did enjoy the epilogue. The public one-shots on Friday were fantastic. Our Dungeon Master, Justin. Oh man, every time a feedback comes in, it refreshes the page. Dungeon Master, Justin was super attractive. I lost it. All right, we'll find it again. The concept was fear of having factions and getting players invested in the story. We got to talk with our faction members before the event, and it really built the community element. Good. Having a good amount of time to look at booths, explore them all, and meet people before the event was awesome. I really like the factions and how different they were. I wonder if we could do something similar to that, but bigger groups. I also enjoyed the costume contest. I love the continuous story. Wonderful to see the effects of previous years echo into the future. Highlight was playing the game. I love that you promoted people coming to our booth with the stamp cards. Oh, so that must have been a vendor. I was a VIP this year and contacted my DM in advance. Much better having a full table pre-planned, and VIP made it so much easier to do. Definitely will be booking another VIP table again. I love the costume contest, and we'll participate next year if there is one. Yes, so costume contest was great. My wife was one of the judges, and the other two cosplayer judges, they're like pretty hardcore into the cosplay community here in Utah. Very good judges, a very fun time. Anyways, back to Chris. Anyways, I wish I could have made it to the Dead Wars. Would have loved to run my rogue Roger the Barbaric Shrubber character. You're gonna have to tell me about him sometime you come in. Okay, back to the feedback. Love the game. Oh, okay. Hey, Justin, Spec Hard taught us how to play, ways to play the game. I love that. Okay. I loved when the Unbound, Protectors of Nature's Pathway all allied and just bullied the Arcane Registry. Oh man, Arcane Registry and Industrialists. That's fun. I very much enjoyed the game itself. The whole setup of the place was dope. I love having the factions and teams and the stalls and vendors. Being in competition with other tables was nice, and the table decoration contest was great. I have anxiety with large crowds from working in a prison for 13 plus years. This was the first time in years I've gone to a mall. Even though there were a ton of people, I was able to manage. So thank you for providing an event that was enticing enough to make me take on something my mental health struggles and overcomes with for the day. Wow, that's a really sweet message. Having a point system that was updated live was really cool. I was a Dungeon Master for the Industrialist table. The most entertaining part for me was when the entire Industrialist faction started shouting vengeance cries towards the Arcane Registry. My players used every trick in their arsenal to blast wizard units to itty-bitty pieces, and one-shotted the rune with a single magic missile combo. We didn't win the event, but we had a satisfying combat in Act 3. Great. The Goddess of Pieces return. Trying previous Dead Wars stuff is a great idea. I love wandering the stalls and supporting the small businesses there. I love painting, show off in the painting area. branding together with the other voices from other tables to pick what to do next. Met some new friends that way. Love the liquid core dice. Ooh, yeah, our Dead Wars dice was beautiful this year. I was a late coming volunteer who served as a captain. This was my first time doing Dead Wars, and I think what most impressed me was the energy and pacing of the event. The passion and sheer number of people excited for this was incredible to behold. But the fact that all the tables kept a sense of purpose throughout was awesome. And maybe because I find it difficult to instill a sense of urgency in my own games, but especially the last 30 minutes of intense action was amazing to watch and engage with. I liked all the vendors and how the captains communicated. All right, so that's all the good. And that warms my heart. I really appreciate everyone who took the time for all of those responses. Now that we've done the good part, okay, we'll go over comments real quick. Logan, it was awesome getting to talk to the faction Advance, and we developed a war cry for Act 3. So much fun. Probably already asked, but did we break the world record again? No, unfortunately, we did not break the world record. I think the final count was over 900. I realistically highly doubted we would break the world record because we had to charge such a high ticket price this year. Now, I'll give a kind of a peek behind the curtain. The first and the second year we did the Dead Wars was at an extreme loss of finances. Like, we were very much in the negative of tens of thousands of dollars in the negative for doing both years' events. One of the goals we have this year is if this is something we truly want to do, because I truly want to do it, I really love the community, we have to prove that it is sustainable. And sustainable doesn't mean like it's crazy profitable. It just means that it breaks even. I will say for this year, we were so close by like $2,000. We were so close to breaking even, which honestly, I consider that a huge win. The fact that we can go from tens of thousands of dollars in the negative to so close of like $1,000 to $2,000 of breaking even means we need to just change one or two more things, and the event itself justifies itself. It's not a drain on the business. I can continue to pay the people who help make this event possible. So that, no, we didn't break the world record. We only hit 900. The big reason because we're charging a ticket price. Ticket price means you're going to have less people who show up because there's a barrier to entry there. But all right, comment. This was my first year really diving into being a captain with trying to be a character. This was my first year really diving into being a captain with trying to be a character. I'd love to have a chance to do again. Also, Andy, what shirt sizes do you have in the store for this year's? Also, we'll throw out that if the shirts come in on time, I bet you would have broken even. I know, okay. That was one of the things. If the shirts would have arrived, we might have just broken even. So they are here now. Our budget, again, was really small. In the last 2 years, we way overspent on shirts. They were such a loss to the company. And this year, they're a loss. But for this year, we only got medium to XL. And then the two most popular factions, which at the time were Arcane Registry and Protectors, we got up to 2XL for those factions. So we do have the shirts in the store. Maybe I'll show them at the end. Thank you so much for still putting on this event, even such an exponential cost for the first 2 years. This was an amazing event. Well, thank you. That's a fire. It means a lot. Like, I truly love doing this event. Walking around and seeing everyone having a blast, that first year is forever seared into my memory. Will probably be one of the, besides like my kid's birth and my wedding, definitely top 5 happiest moments of my life. It's interesting the things that happen in the Provo Town Center after close. So, next year, can we get a pre-order for T-shirts before the event? So, we did have pre-orders for the T-shirts. We just need to make sure the T-shirts arrive on the event, which means we have to order them much sooner. We were assured that they would arrive on time, and then shipping complications and difficulties put it 2 days behind. We received them Monday night. Were you surprised by how this year's event played out from a narrative standpoint? Yes. So this is Jacob. Yes, I had sat down and I had worked out all the different kind of endings for each faction. And I had talked to the captains knowing there's a possibility that all 5 factions could go for peace, and it could be all allies. Or it could be 4 versus 1, or it could be 3 versus 2. I was not expecting the Unbound to ally with anyone, if I'm going to be honest. The Unbound, the players who play the Unbound and the mentality of the Unbound is very much against the other factions, purposefully so. That's kind of how I designed them. So the fact that the Unbound and Nature's Pathway and Protectors all allied together was so cool to see. And I think what happened is Arcane Registry did the move in Risk, you know? You don't want to be the first player who's winning in a game of Risk, because suddenly it becomes everyone versus you. And that's exactly what happened with the Arcane Registry. I need a new shirt for this year. Only have the one from last year that I can't find. Come on into the store. We have them in the store, or you can order them on our website and we'll save it for you. Before we get to the bad, I hope you really felt it when we all cheered your name at the end. You deserve it. And it have been a really cool community event that we can look forward to this year. I really did feel it. I try not to allow those moments to last too long, because I know I will get emotional. So, but I really do know the community cares deeply about me. I mean, I'm able to do this store, which is a dream come true. So, thank you. A common enemy unites people in the best ways. Absolutely. Carl with a C. What would you have done if everyone had just allied with everyone else? Just had us all hold hands and sing Kumbaya the last hour? All right. Are you ready for this? I had it all planned, just in case. You know, I'm a dungeon master who likes to plan. So I had 5 envelopes for 5 different endings. But I had a hidden 6th envelope tucked away in my vest. You guys are going to get to see a bit of the behind the scenes. I had a 6th envelope hidden. If all the factions had decided to unite, something crazy would have happened. I'm not going to say what, because maybe we'll have to use it in other aspects. But I did plan for it, and it was going to be something. Luckily, we got the ending that we did. I was happy with the ending. So, my boss is a driver manager, our dungeon master, not to be confused with dungeon master. Okay, he's interested in helping next year if you run another campaign. The answer is yes, and we need as many dungeon masters as possible. That's what the Tarrasque is for. I've been, so this is, again, Tiki's Gaming. I'm so bad with names. I apologize, everyone. I've been to all 3 Dead Wars, and seeing how much effort you put into the show is amazing. Thank you. Arcane Illusion. I heard from several people who like writing, editing, and designing. Do you think you could be more community involvement in writing next year's campaign? I would love community involvement. Here's the unfortunate aspect, because on Discord somebody was mentioning today we should do an artist contest and see who can draw the Goddess of Peace and that kind of stuff. And I love that kind of stuff. The problem as a business that you run into is if you use that too much, people can see your business as taking advantage of the community. if I put out an art contest for like even 150 bucks, and let's say 10 artists enter, and then I get to cherry pick my favorite, and I pay them the 150 bucks, and then we work out a deal. Maybe I get to use it commercially or something. Those 9 other people, unfortunately, all their hard work doesn't mean anything. And for me, in the guise of a contest, I got art for pretty cheap. And not only did I get art, but I got to see 9 other versions of art that might either inspire me or that I might be able to use. So I love contests and I love supporting the community. I do want to be careful that I'm not taking from the community, if that makes sense. So that's just one thing. I'm very conscious about how I try to portray my business, and the last thing I want to do is put ill will towards that kind of stuff. How did the Arcane Registry activate their faction super weapon? I was surprised when it happened. Okay, so this might have been confusing. So Arcane Registry, in their location, they had the Arcane Cannon. Every location came with a benefit. Like if you had the Nature's Pathway, which was the development center, or if you had the Creed District, the Nature's Pathway would give everyone +1 AC. And the captains went around and actually handed that stuff out. Or if you held the Creed District, you actually slowly gained TP during the final act. You gained tactical points. Arcane Registry's bonus for holding their location was they got to just choose one faction and lower their percentage by 15%. It wasn't their super weapon. It was just kind of the perk of having that location. We wanted to put, I wanted to put perks on locations so it gave more weight to your choice, saying, dang, I actually really want to get that perk for our faction. Let's go try to take over that location. Will you be using the role models for a pregame stream next year? I'm so glad they helped this year, introduced me to a good group. Mason, this is a official Dead Wars shirt. As of yesterday, they came in. I'm repping definitely not my favorite faction. Casual can makeup. I love role models. I've worked with a lot of their team members in the past. Definitely want to bring them on again for future projects, and I wish them the best. So yeah, I only want to support them. We've got 3 more feedbacks. I'll really quick, and then I want to get into the ugly, and I want to talk with you guys about that. So, banding, should be at the top here. We're gonna real quick refresh. 7 responses have come in just during this few bit. Okay. Okay, let's get into the feedback, okay? Now, we've talked all about the cool, good stuff, the good feely stuff. I want to talk about the feedback, and this is really important to me because I'm always trying to figure out how to improve. I don't look at these as attacks. I look at these as potential because these are customers who care enough about me to tell me where they want to see improvement, and so that just motivates me to like figure out how I can fix these problems or make these experiences better. So, okay, feedback. The captains were not as engaged with my table as the packet made it seem. He checked in but rarely updated us and never gave us any orders. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk about captains. We worked really hard to train our captains this year. We had 3 separate meetings. We did dry runs with our captains. This is more training than we have ever done with our table runners previously. I think we had some spectacular captains too. That's not to poo-poo on our captains. We had some spectacular ones. But anytime you do volunteer work or that kind of stuff, you're kind of stuck with what you get. I think the solution for next year is to elevate the captains more, give them either really cool stuff or maybe even bring them on as a contractor paid for a gig so I can hold them a bit more accountable and have like a really good standard for them. I had difficulty hearing my captain, see? So yeah, like overall, our captains improved way night and day from last year's to this year's. Now you might have had a great captain last year who made up for it, and then a bad captain this year, but like overall the quality was significantly better. But I think there is absolutely something to be said. The captains still needed more training, and we didn't have the choice to be picky about our captains. We just kind of had to take who we had. So if there was a somewhat shy or quiet person, you know, that's how it was. I'd love to get to the point where we either support our captains better, pay them, that kind of stuff, and we can have better captains. You guys get better every year. I didn't much like playing against the other factions, though. Yeah, that's fantastic feedback. I knew the second I wanted to do a competitive game, it wasn't going to be for everyone. Dungeons and Dragons is not usually a competitive game. It's a collaborative game. So the fact that I decided to pit 5 different groups against each other, I knew that was going to be some feedback. The factions are going to be sticking around. I love having a common enemy, so it might be the factions have to ally against each other for a common enemy. I love mechanically having different abilities for the different factions, and the factions also help separate us from Wizards of the Coast to really make it feel like, no, this is We Geek Together stuff. This isn't just D&D. So factions are going to stay, but the question is will it always be a competitive element? I don't want it to be a competitive element all the time. The captain in my section seemed overwhelmed with point tracking. We could have used the table's voice to run points to the captain at a set location. That's an idea. Yeah, captains also did have a lot on their plates as well. So even with the training, that was a lot. Feedback, sections felt rushed. Yeah, that happens in these games. Sections do feel rushed. I like the 4-hour version of the game. I think longer than 4 hours, people get antsy, it gets hard to focus. But it also means that some sections feel rushed, especially depending on your dungeon master. That's, yeah. Having a Kingdom Grand map. Okay, so dungeon masters, I sincerely apologize. This was fully on me. I said there was going to be a Kingdom Grand map. And bless the soul in our Discord who stepped up and filled my shortcoming. I never finished that Kingdom Grand map. There's always little things that I drop in these projects. So yeah, having a Kingdom Grand map, that would be nice. Sometimes it was hard to hear the announcements. We were near the speaker and the music was sometimes too loud, but the announcements were too quiet. Yeah, that audio is always a challenge in the mall. I will say, we'll see how much of the feedback goes through. This is our best audio experience in the mall, bar none. So we really honed in our audio skills in the mall. Obviously, it's still not going to be perfect for everyone. I was really happy with what the audio team did. But yeah, no, this is still valid feedback, and still more work needs to be done, more honing needs to be done. Back to the comments. I DM'd last year and attended as a player this year. I did feel the quality improved a lot throughout. They did a wonderful job as volunteers. That's awesome. Miles, you sound a little quiet. Hey, you know what? That's good feedback. Let me check my mic real quick. I can turn up the volume here. We'll just turn it up by one more notch. Okay, hopefully I didn't blast anybody's speakers out there. That might be a bit louder. Okay, hopefully I didn't blast anybody. Casual can make you could double the captains in each area in case one needs a break. Yeah, so we wanted 30 captains. We only were able to get our hands on 20, which again shows you kind of how we couldn't like really audit our captains and hold them to a fine standard. That's where our table struggled, was our captain took bathroom breaks. No shame, but more could help with that. Yep. Sounds like the mic was being covered when you moved around. That sounds much better. I hear you just fine. Okay, cool. Oh, hey, Colton, good to see you. Okay, back to feedback. Sometimes it was hard to hear announcers. Okay, we did that. I liked the events where it was one big bad to focus versus generic horde monsters. Yeah, big bad. Yeah, I understand that. I don't think anyone really was able to understand why all the factions were heading to war against each other. If there was an easy way to understand that, it would have greatly been appreciated. So this is feedback that we need to establish the lore of the Dead Wars more. We need to have, one of the things I want to do this year is release like a few series of videos. I want to do one after the Dead Wars, like a slight narration, animation piece where it's like, after the battle of the Dead Wars, here's what happened to the different factions. The factions absolutely had reasons to fight, and the players who are playing weekly in the store kind of got to see some of that, but yeah, we could have established that much better. Kuro Darkness, maybe one captain just to take points and another captain for communication. That's a solid idea. Yeah, having a captain just for game stuff and having a captain for like breaking up the captain system even more. That's definitely possible. I see Kevin's on Discord, very cool. Maybe he'll jump in. I don't think anyone really was able to understand, okay, no, we're gonna do that. While it is understandable to not have enough DMs to man the tables, the packet that set up DMs was given was difficult to navigate on short notice. If there is a foreseen problem, like a shortage of DMs, an event structured like this with different groups having different objectives, separate packets for the different groups, would be easier to navigate and understand. Also maybe having general baddie stats for the earlier, less important sections. The Dungeon Master problem is, I think, going to be one of our forever Achilles heels, where a Dungeon Master doesn't show up, or we just don't have enough Dungeon Masters for all the tables. So then we work really hard to make it as easy as possible to be a Dungeon Master. And we made even more strides this year, where I filmed a walkthrough video to just kind of break down the whole packet. This year's adventure was the most complex to run because we are running 5 different factions. I honestly, I considered breaking it into 5 separate packets, but the 5 separate packets, I don't think it provided as much of a clarity as some people think. Because you need to understand every enemy faction's location, strategies, and enemies. So if I have my Nature's Pathway packet, and the first sentence is, hey, you're a Nature's Pathway, you're starting a Nature's Pathway, the rest of the packet's gonna be the same. So, because it's then just gonna be talking about everything you can do at the enemy factions. So I thought about it, and I thought maybe that would be a way to make it easier. But yeah, the Dungeon Master problem, forever a problem. Making the game, one thing I really have been thinking about is making the packet digital. Because we can do that in Google Pages, and it's searchable on Google Pages. You can flip through it super quick. And so if we could possibly either release an app or have something that makes the packet really easy to access at your fingertips, like earlier D&D Beyond used to be so fantastic this way, I think that could do a lot. Back to Josh. Back to the captains. Instead of leaving a lot of the information sharing to the captains, would it be an option to instead leave the passing of data to the Dungeon Masters with players? Possibly have players run slips of paper to an info booth. I don't want to do Dungeon Masters because I want Dungeon Masters to just focus on the game. Players, it's an option. Dunn says, I feel like the beginning of the game, Act 1, was very confusing, but this might be because my DM had to quickly read over the packet day of. There didn't seem to be much of a direction. Yeah, I'll be honest, this was the most difficult packet to write, and it was also, I didn't have as much time as I should have given myself, so. There's absolutely some flaws in the packet, narratively, structurally, editing, and that's on me. Packet was not designed to be played while it was read. Day of DMs would struggle with it. Yep. Even with plenty of time to read over the packet and watch the video, I was still scrambling at points. Yeah. No, I think though one of the weakest gameplay elements was the packet. Okay, Logan, I think it makes sense for reporting to just have some sort of an apps that DMs can do quick reporting. Yes, this was our first year using a app for live streaming stuff, and I was really happy with what Kevin was able to make. So, more on that. Felt like there wasn't enough DMs? Yep, absolutely. Photos. Please clearly label your staff members. I was super uncomfortable with people who were absolute strangers taking multiple non-consensual random photos of me during the event. Some people being in costume and some in street clothes. Because I had no idea that you even had event staff going around taking photos. I did have 3 paid photographers. So I spent my entire time fearful that the stranger taking my photo from across the way who didn't ask consent for a photo was a well-meaning person or a creepy jerk. Cool. Hello there. Getting that paid for? Beautiful. Thank you. This is okay. The photographers absolutely should have been labeled, as in like even just like a media badge or something like that. Yeah, okay, there's one of the comments here. I hope they can see this message. I'd love to, they had problems with people taking photos. Now, we take, like I hire photographers and I have a videographer covering the whole event for our media coverage, our media purposes, and we post like public notices like, hey, we're filming here, hey, we're taking photos here, hey, being in this space, being in this public space, you willingly waive your rights to let us take photos. However, I can see this person was not comfortable with us taking photos. The last thing I want to do is ever make somebody uncomfortable. I didn't collect any names or emails. If you're watching the live stream, feel free to DM me, or I'll post on that. DM me, and I'll make sure that none of photos of you are shared on any of our social medias or something, because I want to protect your privacy. Real quick, I would be wary of a DM-controlled app for points, as captains can manage point caps and make sure there's no shenanigans. That is one reason we have captains, is to audit stuff like that. I have a suggestion for Dungeon Masters who don't have access to a ton of minis, creating printable tokens for enemies. That's a great thing. Seconded. Great. Thank you so much for putting on an amazing event. Thank you, Famous by Morning Motorsport. Thanks for joining. Back to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Our table didn't have a DM, so one of us had to try and DM after 15 minutes of prep. I truly feel bad for all the Dungeon Masters who have to pick up. I'll say it, and I'll always say it with the events. The best way to enjoy the Dead Wars is to bring your own Dungeon Master or to be your own Dungeon Master. Relying on randoms to pick up as a Dungeon Master, literally a roll of the dice if you're going to have a good time. Because a Dungeon Master makes or breaks your game every time. So if you are fortunate enough to have a group of friends to be a Dungeon Master, great. And if you don't have a group of friends to be a Dungeon Master, come to the store. Come to the store. We'll find you a group so you can have a good Dungeon Master. Or join many of the Facebook pages, Discord pages here in Utah, or if you're traveling, like the Dungeon Master will always be a problem. The faction part could have been more interesting by adding in more discussions or a way to communicate with other tables. Discord server for factions, maybe using polls to vote for alliances. Oh, that's a cool idea. The captain system could be cleaned up by using Google Forms. We actually did that. And adding auto tallies for point keeping. That way the captains don't have to constantly circle and possibly miss points. I see what they're probably saying. The Dungeon Masters could have been done that. I like having captains enter points because second year we had a table of bad actors. Not bad actors. We had a table of young, enthusiastic teenagers who said, we killed the boss instantly. And my captain wasn't trained, and they said, great. And then they reported the airship. It was the airship. They reported the airship was immediately destroyed. And one of the biggest feedbacks we got that last year was so many tables wanted to play the airship part, and it got immediately destroyed because a table of 12-year-olds said, oh, we destroyed it all by ourselves. And so it ruined a lot of fun for people. So having captains who can audit the game is very important. But I agree, there's obviously room for improvement. The combat part was slightly lackluster this year with several smaller enemies. It would be nice to have pre-planned backup in case the party just destroys the waves. Oh, most of my party was level 9. Our DM did a great job improvising, but it had to be clear with our captain. Yeah, so we allow Dungeon Masters to allow higher level, that kind of stuff. But and we allow our campaign players to even go higher levels. I think if we ever approach that again, we have to work with those Dungeon Masters in particular on making their game a lot more fun. So the VIPs with level 9 characters can have a challenge still. However, that being said, being a level 9 character while everyone else around you is a level 5 character. And the reason you're a level 9 character is because you put in work and you've played the pre-games before and you've showed up. You kind of deserve to be Aragorn and Legolas at that point. That's kind of part of the fantasy I want to try to capture. Shanthan, DMF of the Skellyfish. I was talking to a good friend about the idea of being a DM for a group of friends next year for Dead Wars. She seemed to really like the idea. Can you flip the mic out? I think it's being muffled against your shirt neck. Yes, thank you, Monkey Bebop. How you doing over there? Are you ready? Getting a Zuber Fizz. Chat, I've got money to make, so give me a second. Dude, they're awesome. I love the orange. The strawberry rhubarb's my favorite. Good. I'm finally recovering from the world record games. So.
Did you guys hit the record?
No, we were close. We were under 1,000, but it was still an amazing event.
I feel bad. I wanted to do a 10, but I was working at the time. So.
Work. The classic enemy of D&D.
I at least did get to watch the event. So.
Heck yeah. Well, that means a lot. Thank you. Thanks for supporting the tavern.
Thank you. You have a good one.
You too. Is there a recap or collection of lore from past Dead Wars? Working on that. Famous by Morning. That's definitely something I want to work on. Captain engagement. Okay. Captain engagement. Captains were disorganized and not showing up at worst. They were making decisions that weren't supported by the players of the factions, and reporting was a hassle to a pain they were just missing. Good feedback. Act 3 is pretty consistently too short. Set up for it and doing it and cleaning up is hard. This year, it was hard to feel like the table was making a difference when there was a cap on points. It felt like grunt work to just fight on the front lines. I think Act 3 would probably have been more exciting if the numbers had been closer. Unfortunately, the way it panned out was so we had 4 factions go against 1. That faction had done so well at the beginning that it was able to pad its points so much that even 4 against 1, it had plenty of points for people to chew through. Now, this year, we completely, I push really hard that the game is driven by players. I think the only way we could have made Act 3, besides a good amount of rewriting and rework, because that was absolutely an option. I think one of the ways we could have improved Act 3 was really fine-tuning the point scale, maybe allowing factions to earn less points, or maybe betrayal to earn less points. Like Arcane Registry worked, and they got all those points, and then they backstabbed a faction, and that got them plenty of points to stay alive. So I think it's a fine-tuning numbers game to have made, just without changing Act 3. If I had been able to calculate the points a bit better, that could have made it more exciting. Also, Act 3 could have just been better in general, more exciting. I don't know where the cap. I didn't know there was a cap on TP, but afterwards, learning we did, I felt like we really did everything we could do, so I liked the cap. Again, the cap, the reason we had the cap was to prevent bad actors. If a table says, hey, we did every objective, that's 200 TP. We really learned from last year, not having safeguards like that. Do you think future Dead Wars will consistently have competing factions? I heard on Discord that some Arcane Registry tables weren't up for the Industrialist backstab. How were decisions like that determined? So this is a good question about the betrayal. The captains were expressly trained. Any voting, any alliance has to be majority passed by your tables. So the captains were instructed. You need to go to all your tables. You need to work with them, and you need to see how they're reacting to the other factions. Now, post game, I've had tables say, "Oh, well, our captains never asked us if we should ally or if we should betray. We were completely out of the loop on that." Well, I had some other tables approach me and say, "Oh yeah, no, we were able to choose. We were one of the tables that chose to backstab the Arcane Registry." So while we did work hard on training our captains, we had 3 meetings and stuff. It's absolutely something that could have been better, a captain system. And there could have been possibly more auditing. Some of the points my table got was from healing. The problem was not enough enemies to damage us. Only 2 characters hurt, and they recovered with just a short rest. I think it would have been helpful to have better management of who was sitting at what table. There was a lot of mix-ups at who was sitting at my table. We had to bring in random players. I'd like to see it more as compete to cooperate, where the factions are all fighting against the same enemy, but competing to see who can do the best. Arcane Illusion, I'm on the same page with you. The table and chair situation was really complicated this year because we're dealing with not only 1,000 people trying to get them seated and stuff, but we are now dealing with 1,000 people, but 5 separate factions. So I couldn't just take 1 player from this table and throw them on a table of 5 here, because now I'm throwing you to a different faction and you wanted to be in Nature's Pathway. So all the difficulties of table and seating that we've had in the previous 2 years was like compounded by 5 this year. Honestly, Kevin and I stressed, poor Kevin, we worked so hard to try to get the tables figured out. Still working on it. And we learned a lot this year, especially with how complicated the system was. So we're already kind of working on plans to improve it. All right, back to feedback. Information took a while to come out, from the DM packet to the maps of where the tables were. Yes, our information pipeline of the event should have been about a month sooner. We should have had pretty much like packet should have been out a month sooner. Events, maps should have been out sooner. Have a good one, you guys. Panel schedule should have been out sooner. Like I wanted everything to be a month sooner. We lost like 2 months. We had planned on working through the holidays, November, December, to have everything rolling January, February, March. That didn't happen. The holidays kicked our butts as a company. We didn't get any work done during November, December, and we're learning. But yeah, the fact that we didn't get any vital work done that we needed to in November, December, because we were dumb to try to work during that time meant we were 2 months behind. And so we really felt the crunch January through now. So that's where the reason I'm doing this wrap up in this live stream is because I'm meeting next week to start planning the next Dead Wars. Props to Kevin. No, seriously, props to Kevin. He and Reese, both him and Reese, took so much of the mental burden that I have had to deal with Dead Wars for the past 2 years. And of course, everyone in the team. But Kevin took on registration, which has always been my thing. Reese took on captains and game mechanics, making sure that was smooth, which was also my thing. So the fact that these two people just took two of those heavy burdens off of me, allowing me to focus on other things, amazing. My table capped out on points each phase and accomplished all of our tasks. Losing as a faction was understandable. It would have been nice to have some squad level role play lore reward. Gone but not forgotten, Steam and Iron. Yes. My heart goes out to Industrials. Okay. I feel like I don't have major complaints about the game itself, so take my thoughts as constructive criticism. DM recruitment is a perennial problem in the hobby. Yep. Dead Wars is no exception. Maybe there could be a way that tables can only unlock for player signups if a DM is signed up. Interesting. I was a DM for my table, and when I turned around, there was one guy sitting by his lonesome self. I told him to go see if there were any available player spots anywhere in our faction, and if not, to just come join us. He ended up with us, so I was running a table for 7. I was happy to step up, but I feel like a captain should have been involved, making sure that poor soul had a table. Oh, well, first off, thank you to that dungeon master for being an awesome dungeon master. The captains were there trying to help people find spots, but yeah, I'm really glad we have such a supportive community for that kind of stuff. And that absolutely was something the captain should have fixed. Stage screen was not updated as often as I think it would have been. Yep. Maybe creating an app or program for the captains would streamline the process. We were using Google Sheets. Maybe we can use an app next year. To start off, I'd like to express my gratitude for the effort that went into organizing the event. Any issue I may have with specific aspects of the event in the game does not change the fact that I really enjoyed it. You guys are too kind. I was able to make new friends and run into old friends. This really isn't anything else like the Dead Wars, and I definitely look forward. Okay. In the interest of the continuation of the event, however, which leads me to writing this feedback. I hope not yet. I will start with what I felt like was the biggest complaints I got. Oh, man. Unfortunately, the way I formatted this, I'm not going to actually see what their feedback was until I get to the next section. So, very kind. We were disappointed that we had our table decorated at 3, but no one came to judge the decoration before play began, and we moved our stuff and maps on the table. I'm sorry, that really does hurt. The table, I will say probably one of the weaker, besides the cosplay contest, because my wife's an angel and they did great. The painting contest absolutely flopped, and the table decorating contest also didn't nearly hit as I thought. I learned, since I took and delegated a lot of tasks, I'm like, wow, I got more free time. Let's do some contests and that kind of stuff. And honestly, anytime I take on these tasks, I just need to assign these tasks to new people who I can trust to do those justice, because I was in charge of the contests and a lot of things, and I dropped the ball on that. Skylar, that was my Discord post copied and Slagby. We'll get to it, Skylar. I appreciate the feedback. Is there anything we as players, fans, can do to help for the next year? Really want to see the continued succeed and grow. Honestly, the best thing to do is just visit the store. As a small business, word of mouth. We live or die off of our customers, our support. I work open to close every day except for one day and Sundays, of course, because we're not open on Sundays. I bring in my brother one day a week to cover me. But for the rest of the days, poor Reese and I, we're both open to close. So, if the store is doing well enough that I can afford to pay for another employee, then that absolutely helps. Are you looking for stickers? Sorry, yeah, I was. I didn't realize. Oh, no. No, you didn't ruin my video. Yeah, we're talking about the Dead Wars. We're doing a feedback. For those of you who don't know, we give out stickers. Which one are we on?
This one.
Uh-huh.
And then I
Who doesn't
got
like
a commander
stickers?
from you guys probably last month. Is that fine?
Did you build a deck?
Yeah, I did.
Sweet.
Cool. Sorry, I should have read it before coming up. Yeah, those two. Perfect.
Sweet.
And then next time I will get the thing.
Yes, yes.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Yeah.
Somebody said that regulars can buy the Final Fantasy boxes at wherever you guys.
MSRP. Not wholesale, MSRP.
Okay.
So the commander decks, are you looking for the normal commanders are 79. No, I think they're 69.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Yeah, nice indeed. And then
You need to scan this QR code. You need to get on my this is my VIP list. They're pretty much everyone in the tavern who plays. I clear to get MSRP. Otherwise, on my website's market price. That way, if scalpers are trying, because it's market price for these decks are like 125.
it's crazy.
So people are already scamming people, getting them for cheap. So join this email list. Specifically, put down Magic the Gathering, and I'll get you the deals.
And then is that just the commanders or is that also the box?
No, dude, everything
Okay.
in the Final Fantasy set.
Probably get one of the draft.
Yes. Thank you. Josh, is there a way to volunteer for next year's Dead Wars? What do you guys need from the community? I appreciate it, Josh. We always try to communicate. The Discord's honestly the best way to stay up to date with our deeds. We're doing OtCon this year. OtCon is a convention hosted by a local. There's a way to say this. It's people who have development needs. OtCon, we are donating Dungeon Masters to this event to run games for adults in this center. So it's really cool, and we're looking for Dungeon Masters. So we like to do community events, but yeah, keeping an eye on our Discord is a great way to see what we need. Costume contest was super nice. It was so cool to see people dressed up. I love the costume contest. Did we get a total head count for this year? 900. We didn't break the record, but I knew that because we were charging for tickets this year. We weren't going to break that. Having GM'd at all 3 years, I could see your improvements. I just wish the minis were available sooner. Yes. I know. See, I said before we were 2 years behind, or not 2 years, 2 months. 2 months behind on the cycles. Minis and packets should have been out at least a month before, maybe not 2 months. You can still buy the minis though in store on our website. They're print on demand. Okay. Speakers in some areas were not properly working. Yep. Forever problem. It was the best this year, but we're still, make it easier to hear announcements from the stage, even if I didn't buy a VIP ticket. Yes. We tried radios this year. I wanted to buy radios for every table. Maybe next year. Make the tickets cost less. There could be a reason why there weren't as many players. Absolutely. Yeah. I wish we could make the tickets cost less. The fact that we were so close to breaking even this year means it's possible that we could maybe lower the ticket price, especially if we have the opportunity to hit a sponsor or two. Dead Wars is entirely funded by us, and like the vendors, we don't even charge too much for our vendors. We charge $200 to be a vendor at our event, which I think is a very fair amount. Getting a soda? Yeah. Watch this. I am so so good at my job.
Not today, but I heard that we could get MSRP on
Final Fantasy?
stuff.
Yeah, dude. Scan that QR code. I already have pre-orders on our website, but if you scan that QR code, I'll send you the coupon codes to lower the prices on our website to MSRP. All right, $1.88. There we go. Yeah, so I charge market price on the website because we're having people from Texas and Florida like trying to scalp the stuff.
Scalpers are.
But if you're a local and you get on that email list, I then send you the coupon codes, gets you the good deals.
Sure. How did Dead Wars go last week?
Dude, it was good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wish I could have made it, but I had to work. I worked as a service.
The enemy of D&D's work. Maybe put up announcements on the update app. We did have a way on the update app. Okay, sorry, Miles, back to the thing. We did have not push notification. We had push announcements on the app, but it had some problems. Have a good night, you guys. I do hope you keep the painting contest going next year. I want to do the painting contest, and I definitely want to support it much more. If there was a donation option that could offset some of the costs of lower ticket prices, or let people buy tickets as donations to players who can't afford their own. I think one thing I can do to lower the ticket price is have like a certain amount that we have to hit, like a threshold. And then I can work on getting the people who really need it cheaper tickets. One thing I would love to do is like give schools free tickets, give game stores free tickets, have ways for people to earn free tickets. Earn sounds kind of scummy because I don't want people like having to share 10 posts and then they earn a free ticket. I'm not talking about that, but like, I want to be mindful. I know the economy is absolute garbage. I hate that I have to charge $25, but the reality is if I don't break even on the event, it can't happen. Do you think you will do it on a later date? I had a couple friends who had to go to prom graduation later in May. Yes, I think we want to push it to the end of May next year and see how that goes. My fear is if we hit it too far after graduation, because we're in a college town, everyone's going to leave for summer. So the timing is always particular. You could potentially get some large companies sponsoring factions. Logan, we've worked really hard to try to get sponsors this year, and we're going to work even harder for 2026. Hopefully we can get some sponsors. Giving schools free tickets would be cool, especially since RPG clubs tend to already be formed into solid groups by the end of the year. Exactly. We did give some free tickets this year to schools, and I want to keep on supporting them. It is 10:22. Wow. We are... All right. I'm going to keep on reading this feedback. I'm probably going to end in 15 minutes. So, yeah. Gonna be honest, I thought the prices weren't bad at all. I've definitely paid more for less fun events. Well, I appreciate it. Trees do. I'm super mindful of costs, so yeah. Okay. I think Dead Wars would probably benefit from a bit more advertising. Yes, it absolutely would. That's my job as marketing, so want to work on that. No alliances. This person didn't like the alliances. Oh no. I saw a Discord notification, and I clicked off the live stream. Okay, that's fine. Concrete communication and confirmations in advance. We had very little time to promote our participation. I think sometimes it was a little hard to navigate the Discord. Yeah, the Discord sucked this year. I don't know how I messed it up. Yeah, the Discord needed to be streamlined and pushed a lot sooner. I was sad because I worked hard on our table decor, but no one came by 4 p.m. Please stay true to the timing of your events. Yeah, absolutely. That one feels bad. Don't do it on Mother's Day weekend. Oh, I know. Oh, it sucks so bad. I chose the date far in advance. I didn't ever check if there was any other dates. Mother's Day weekend sucked. I woke up at 6 a.m. 4 hours of sleep on Sunday so I could try to be a good husband to my so beautiful and perfect wife. She deserved a Mother's Day after all of the crap I had put her through. So it sucked. So yeah, we'll never do it the weekend of Mother's Day. Why are factions combined rather than just receiving an individual bonus? If everyone chose an alliance, would there be no Act 3? Yes, there would have been an Act 3. That was a secret Act 3. Did the Unbound really throw out the entire core of their being and bend the knee to another faction? Ooh. For next year, could it be set up so that each faction is vying to compete their own objectives to the very end. Like I said, I don't think we're going to do. There might be a competitive element, but I don't think it's going to be everyone versus each other. I really want to go back to a big bad. Table spacing, we were in the VIP section and kept bumping into other groups. The VIP section is crammed. We tried something new with the VIP section this year. I have mixed feelings. I know it wasn't in your control, but something I got annoyed with was the amount of DMs that were missing. I felt like you should have had a head count a day before the Dead Wars happens. Or email or message all the DMs to see who is actually going to come. We definitely tried that. We did pre-registration, we did pre-check-ins. The entire time we are monitoring the Dungeon Master to player ratio. We saw the burning train a mile away. We couldn't do anything to stop it. I was posting on all of our social medias saying, please, Dungeon Masters, please. Anytime somebody would walk into the store and they'd be like, oh, we have questions about the Dead Wars, I'd be like, are you the Dungeon Master? If not, consider it, please. And I'd bat my eyelashes. So we try. I feel like the factions were a little unbalanced due to how many people could join each one. I think you could have a max members thing, raise a ceiling for the amount of members when each filled up, just so there was more equal number per faction. We did build in like some comeback mechanics for the least supported factions. Almost every faction had over 30 tables. I think there was one faction that only had 27 tables. It was actually pretty close. That being said, it's still valid feedback. Could we get a set of goals or objectives to complete next year, preferably with some universal consistency and transparency regarding the point system? What could be accomplished per table seems to vary wildly on how much the DM lays out. That's not true. We built the caps in to prevent that. Also, were points rated to reflect the number of participants? They were. Some factions had a multiplier, 1.2, so their points went a bit farther. Could they be scaled according to the number of participants? Yes. The acts were too short and the time was rushed, and to the time the third act, 30 minutes got wasted because we were waiting for the Alliance update and the scores from the second act. There was only 30 minutes to have combat, which isn't realistic for a full table. I have never felt more rushed as a DM. Also, my players felt rushed too. There wasn't enough time for the captains to gather our points and informations. Act 3 was rushed. I will agree with that. It took a bit to get the captains to report. So yeah, well, that's valid feedback. Maybe you could offer a discount for referring friends. That's a good idea, Chandler. I think it would be super nice if you had it a faction type thing, but coordinated. The first year people were put in specific sections. Think of year 1 where the wall garrison. Izzy Batty, Izzy. I think it would be super nice if you had it a faction type thing, but coordinated. The first year people were put in specific sections. Think of year 1 where we had wall garrison. I think what you're saying is like have the new players do easier parts of the adventures. Like choosing to be on the wall. Yeah. I remember that. I remember being able to choose those. The factions were this poor duck, by the way. I'm squishing a duck while I'm talking, but yeah. My table had very slow combat in Act 2, but Act 3 combat felt intense as the whole table knew there was a ticking clock. We were doing a round of combat in about 3 minutes. I personally do really like the drama that the third act naturally provides, knowing that there's only a certain amount of time to get those hits in. So when you pick your faction, you are choosing what play style you want to engage for the game. I see. This, we already have thoughts for the upcoming game next year, and I think that will solve the problem. So stay tuned. I'm not going to say anything yet. Team was decent, but I personally expected a bit more from the VIP table DM. She seemed like she would be a great player, but was lacking experience as a DM. Fair. The VIP Dungeon Masters, maybe this is something that we have to audit before. Maybe VIP, maybe the only way to purchase a VIP table is if you bring a whole group. Maybe we lock down VIP tables to groups only. That way we don't have that problem. So we know we're giving a VIP spot to a group that's going to have a great time. The Arcane Registry activated their ultimate weapon, and I couldn't find in the packet how they did that, which made it seem unfair that one faction did. I already stated that was just the location's ability. That was not their ultimate weapon. The saddest part of the day had to be at the end of Act 2 when the alliance was set. It became obvious when the end result would be, and the events of Act 3 felt rather pointless. At least the industrialists had vengeance to give their battle meaning, but for anyone else, the suspense was completely lost. Yeah, and I think honestly, if this comes back to maybe tightening the point system a bit better, making it so the Arcane Registry, if you did have 4 factions, maybe there was a multiplier. Maybe I think that might have been the easiest solution, is every time another faction attacks you, hey. Sit down on the glass top, I'll hold on to him. And if somebody messages you, I'll hold on to him. Maybe if there's a multiplier, maybe if there's 3 or 4 factions teaming up against you, every TP point, now you're losing double or triple that amount. So you're really in trouble if you were to get all factions against you. I think that's the only way we could have done that. Because again, the whole point of the game is let the player's choices have the actions and the consequence. And the way the whole game played out, it was a little anticlimactic, I believe that. City map is needed. Yes, city map was absolutely needed. Sorry. There's too much to explore in Act 1. 8 points of interest was too much for under an hour. Our group got through 3 and failed to accomplish much of anything in that hour, so we were kind of yeeted into Act 2. With little context other than engineers are acting sus about the water, magic people bad, and bank mercenaries are jerks. Possible our DM accidentally gated information and made it too difficult to obtain. There were tables. The intent of Act 1 is you weren't supposed to explore everything. Instead, your captains were supposed to then fill you in on missing information. The other tables were supposed to fill you in on information. I think that was probably one of the other failures, was just like allowing more flow of communication between the tables. Clear instructions on points, mechanics, and how to handle parties that ended up leveling due to playing in the tavern. So I think this was a Dungeon Master complaint. Yeah, packet information could have been improved. Not being able to communicate with non-VIP tables. Felt like there are 2 different decisions being made. VIP tables would agree on something as a group, only to hear decisions overruled by non-VIP tables. It was very hard to hear our captain a lot. It was loud, especially for VIP tables in front of the stage. The hard part is seating 5 different factions to keep them together, and then also to have your VIPs by the stage as they deserve because they're paying more for their tickets, but then having the connection between that. I don't know how we solve that, unless we go back to having the factions be less of a competitive element. It often was unclear to my table that what each act was about. Phase 2 in particular confused us for like 10 minutes as the DM struggled to explain to us that the act had 2 phases and that we were probably supposed to do each act. It also wasn't clear to us immediately that our actions at our table contributed to the adventure. Without spoiling the story, perhaps you could give a short preview text or card summarizing how points worked, the faction base-wide decisions were made. Okay. I think there's not a lot of adventure packets, so it just says Dungeon Master, explain these mechanics to your players so they understand. Usually the Dungeon Master doesn't just say, okay, hey, real talk, this is how the next 2 hours is going to play. You need to do this, and then you need to do this, and this is important because of this, and this is important because of this. That honestly would have helped a lot of tables, and maybe that's something. While it's kind of immersion breaking, I think that kind of clarity, if we just say, read this script, say this, I don't know. We could even bake it in lore. I think I'm honestly just kind of giving a waffle of an excuse. If I can level up my skills as a writer, I should be able to write better instructions in universe. Player packets like that would have been nice. Yeah, I agree. This is why I do this feedback, so I can reflect on myself, so I can real talk and be like, okay, this is how I need to take it better. Was a VIP table up top? It was cool layout to me personally. Good. Maybe think about the mall layout before creating the factions. Yeah, I created the factions before I thought about the mall layout. That's often. Okay, we are a third of the way through the feedback. Now, I will say the first feedback is the most because people put most of their poignant feedbacks in the first section. And then sections 2 and 3 are usually lesser feedbacks. So let's recap here. Dungeon Master packets need to be a bit better executed. Not a bit. Dungeon Master packets need more love. The event itself, from marketing, from scheduling, from venue, everything needs to be rolled out. Packets, merchandising, t-shirts, needed to be 2 months in advance, which for me means we have to do it before October, November, December, which means we're doing it August, September, July, August, September, which is in 2 months. Because for October through December is holiday season. It's insane. So everything needs to roll out sooner. There's still some issues to fix with sound. There's still issues to fix with captains. While we did absolutely improve our sound and captains, there's still room to improve there. Honestly, though, seeing that these are the most this is most of the feedback. This really gives me, have a good night. This really gives me feedback, really good feedback, because, or not gives me feedback, this really gives me hope. Because when I read last year's feedback, there was a ton of it. Of course there was a ton of it. There's over 100 replies. And we're at 50 right now, so more is gonna come in. But there was a ton of it, and there was a way bigger range of things that people had feedback on. The other thing that needs to be better is contests. That's the other thing that needs to be better. Contests, packets, all the information. I feel like we've greatly improved from the last year, which is fantastic. Our feedback has gotten narrower, which is good. So I feel like we're improving and growing. But there's still a lot of work to do. Marking staff and photographers as well. Yep. Staff lanyards. We didn't have any staff lanyards. It was really cool last year to have parties doing remote play missions. We completely dropped remote play. We didn't have time to develop that. Again, we didn't have enough cycles. It's a weird thought, but have you ever much thought advertising the event to other LGSs? Yes, this year we actually partnered with other LGSs. We gave them free tickets to give, and then if the LGS wanted to donate stuff to give away, all those raffle prizes we gave away. I said what game store gave it away, so that was really nice of a lot of the local game stores support us. Okay, it is 10:39. I have 10 minutes. No, I have like 5 minutes left to wrap it up. So I'm not going to be able to get through all the feedback, unfortunately. I appreciate everyone who has jumped in and commented. I guess I'll leave this last 5 minutes for Ask Andy, or ask the Dungeon Master, the head Dungeon Master, anything you want about Dead Wars. I truly, sincerely love the community and all the support you guys have given We Geek Together, me, my family. It's why I do it. So thank you for that. But yeah, we'll ask if you guys have any questions about the game, any feedback, any ideas. Let's go through that kind of stuff. For the last 5 minutes, 10:45 in 5 minutes, I'll kind of wrap up the stream. I'll say a few of my favorite things. I loved all the costumes. I loved the stage. Josh at 51st Productions being able to pull out a video wall. A video wall for how small our budget was, mind-blowing. Like, to be clear, it's usually $5,000 a day to have a video wall. So that would have been $10,000 for 2 days, plus another $5,000 for the setup and takedown, so $15,000. There's no way we could have done $15,000. He was able to get us a video wall for, I mean, I won't say because I don't want to get him in trouble, but for a very reasonable amount. Yeah, I loved this stage this year. It set such a high bar that every year now we're going to have a video wall for that. Okay. Okay, here's a question. I've heard there's going to be a time skip for next year. Is that true? I do want to have a time skip. I want to have 100 years. I want to develop each faction as kind of their own either nation, governing body. I want to be able to explore a bit more of Kingdom Grand because we've been stuck here for the past ever. And so I want to explore different areas, different regions, and kind of dive into different adventures and that kind of stuff. There's a time skip. The other reason I want to have a time skip is because I want to be able to give myself somewhat of a clean slate because we now have 3 years of Dead Wars lore, and all of this, for my tavern regulars, the people who are coming in and playing the weekly games, who've seen like everything that's developed for the past 3 years, the Dead Wars canonically have happened in the span of 7 years. There's the first year with the Undead Lich. 2 years later was Eos and Skodos. 5 years later was the 5-faction war. So in 7 years, poor Kingdom Grand has gone through 3 near-death, near-apocalyptic scenarios. So I kind of want to give it a time skip and let us solidify our world, kind of step away from the messier lore that we've just kind of thrown in there just to have, and really have not a clean slate, because I still want the big things to still matter. We have the Goddess of Peace back. That's huge. We have these 5 factions. There's now a triple alliance between these factions that will be honored in some way. So I still want to carry the aspects of the player's choices over, but I do want to give it time so we can get rid of some of the uglier stuff. The stage, from a player standpoint, was amazing and a great way to show friends who weren't there they had missed out on. I appreciate that. It was absolutely a flex to have such a cool stage. Looking forward to seeing what you cook up next. My feedback, Beard and Rice on Discord, may come across as more critical than most, but it's in good meaning. No, I appreciate brutal, honest feedback. Like I said that at the beginning, this stuff inspires me to get better. That here's what would scare me, is if I put out the call for feedback and then I got radio silence, because that means I lost the community. When you don't hear feedback, that doesn't mean you're doing a great job. That means you have hurt the people so much that they have just ghosted you. They have left you. So the fact that Bread and Rice, the fact that you care to leave a passionate or critical review means you care, and thank you. That means a lot, that you trust me to care with that. So basically, the alliance of the 3 factions brings peace to the Kingdom Grand for 100 years. That is true, at least what we're planning. Is there a chance of licensing Dead Wars World for DMs in other locations to use and contribute similar to players who are local to the tavern? So, Famous by Morning Motorsport. Here's a huge goal. Wizards of the Coast has what they call Adventures League. And Adventures League is a program where theoretically you can take your character and you can go to any game store, you can play D&D, and that character will level up. The problem is it's terribly supported, if not just dead completely, and it's a terrible system. I want to be able to run an Adventures League for any game store to be able to pick up our system, to be able to take our world, to be able to have their players play in the world, change the world, affect the world, and for that to then support the community, the players, for it to be able to pay dungeon masters. Because as dungeon masters, it's hard to be a dungeon master. It takes a lot of work and time. And so I want dungeon masters to be paid for their time. So dungeon masters can push themselves to be better. And also, if you are paying dungeon masters, that means players can expect a better quality dungeon master. You can't have a pervy or weird or creep dungeon master because it's bad for business. Like, I can't have bad dungeon masters. So you would have protections and auditing systems. And the second a dungeon master is not safe for players, they're booted and blacklisted from the system. So we want to be able to provide great dungeon masters for stores, and then we want to be able to support game stores, because if a game store runs Adventures League, it doesn't do you any good. I would much rather run Magic the Gathering tournaments in my store, because Magic the Gathering tournaments generates money for my store. If I run 50 games of Dungeons & Dragons in my store, the way Adventures League is set up, the only money I'm going to be making is if people buy cookies and drinks and snacks, which is fine, but that's how it's always been, and I want to provide a much better experience. So to roundabout answer your question, I really want Dead Wars, and I'm thinking about a name change, but we'll see. I really want this system to be owned by game stores. So game stores can be able to, any game store in the world can run this. So players anywhere in the world can play this game, so they can be in this world. And even remotely, and you can log in, and I'd love to have an app that you can track, and then you can do your downtime on the app, and you can track your character sheet, and then it's authenticated every time you play. I have so many ideas, and then yes, I'd love to be able to give it to dungeon masters and say, here's this month's Adventures League adventure, and if you run it at home and you can prove that you ran it, guess what? Your players are going to get the in-game benefits just the same as if they came to the game store, and it wouldn't cost you guys anything, and you would get all the benefits from it. I want the TTRPG community to be better and safer. I want dungeon masters to get paid for their time. I want game stores to be supported, and that's one of the goals with the system. So sorry, I got soapbox there. I just watched your video about Wizards of the Coast and Adventures League and such. Yep, you can see why I'm so passionate about that. Will the other two factions be gone or on the fringes of society? Spencer Bennett. So the other two factions didn't get wiped out. They definitely took a huge hit. Working on how I'm going to work on their factions. I'm thinking the industrialists become like a wandering tribe, almost like I love Mad Max, so maybe they're like just roaming scavengers who will like hit and run groups, scavenging tech in pieces, and then as soon as they hit a place, then they just vanish. And so there might be some quest to go find the industrialists, that kind of stuff. The Arcane Registry took a huge hit. It's funny because in the tavern games, the Arcane Registry has always been the morally dubious faction, as in like they were sometimes the bad guys. They would sometimes backstab the players. They were definitely a contention point. So the fact that in game, the Arcane Registry was the one to backstab the industrialists was absolutely on point for the Arcane Registry. They got what they deserved. So their faction definitely took a big hit. It's definitely not the end of the Arcane Registry. Their tower is gone. Their Arcane Cannon is gone, but the organization is still very much there. Thanks for doing something so large and including this community. I appreciate your hard work and time it brings us together. I wish there were more that I could do. Attend Might of Mortals. Thank you. Thank you, Casey. Would there be safeguard for DMs so they would be protected from Smurfs? Yes. So with the one of the huge reasons why I want to bring about a much better Adventures League is because there's so many horror stories of players with bad dungeon masters, and there's also so many horror stories of bad bad players who terrorize dungeon masters. I want to be able to have a reporting system that after you play a game with a dungeon master, you can leave a review, and that dungeon master is audited. And then the dungeon master can also then go and leave a review about the players, and those players are audited. And that will then have a system of flags and checks. And so, and as players, you can also then leave reviews about other players. Obviously, we build it robust enough so like no bad player can just send out a bunch of red flags and just get a bunch of people hurt in the system. But it'll allow us that like after if even 2 or 3 games, you're getting reports on this kind of stuff. We can immediately identify the person. We can track a pattern of record. We can then blacklist that player from the program, from the game stores. Because I truly believe game stores need to foster and keep their community safe. That's besides like right now, because I'm doing a live stream, I'm usually watching my entire game store like a hawk and eavesdropping on conversations and trying to make sure it's a safe space. Eavesdropping is a bad word, but like I'm always just checking the temperature of the tables. Like, how are people interacting? Are people getting aggressive and hostile? Do I need to go and step in? So, yeah, that's the player safety and dungeon master safety. Super important. There was more roleplay and skill usage this year. Will you include prizes in future years? Puzzles. Okay, Shane. I can't say anything yet. I'm super excited for 2026. Puzzles, yes. All shiny and chrome. Thank you. I friggin' love Mad Max. Well, that explains a lot. Still a tactical disaster for the Arcane. Yep. When it comes to an app, there could easily be a Dungeon Master login system too, and that could solve the problem of reporting in game. Dungeon Masters can report tactical points, but they can also be coded tactical points capped by Dungeon Master login. The online, the reporting aspect will become much more digital, much more friendly. I know Kevin has many ideas to make this system more robust and more easier. The easier the tactical point system is, the easier it is to report, the better the system is. That's absolutely going to be a big push for us. All right, it is. Kevin is really amazing. He's a great person to work with. I'm very lucky. I'm lucky that I am able to work with all of these talented people, and they put up with my absolute insanity because I am the most crazy focused, doing so many things, pie in the sky. I wanna do this, and the next week I want to do this, and so their whole job is like, when I have an idea, they're like, okay, we'll try to figure that out somehow, and then they try to like keep me down on earth. I feel so blessed to work with them. I literally have Chelsea, and she has taken the unfortunate role as like my organizer, where she's just like, have you completed these 5 important tasks today? And I'm like, oh, but I really, no, you need to make sure you complete these 5 important tasks. Okay, thank you. So yeah, I work with fantastic people. How can I, as a Salt Lake-based DM, help with the growth of the Dead Wars Weekly Adventures League replacement? Thank you, Skylar. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Honestly, so we're trying to approach game stores to help roll out our program. We're in level 1 gamers right now, which is great. We went to another game store and they turned us down. I don't think game stores really understand what we're trying to do, which is we're trying to support the game store. I want RPGs to like bring in a little bit of money, not like a ton of money, but I want it to bring in a little bit of money so it justifies the table usage. I want the Dungeon Masters, of course, to get paid, and I want the players to have a better experience, because if your players are having a great experience, they're going to want to come back to your game store. So now you have reoccurring customers. So it's a very healthy cycle. Okay, that's what we're really trying to promote. We're trying to promote healthy ecosystems of customer and game master and store. And I think a lot of game stores are scared because I'll say game stores look at other game stores competitively, because we're all mom and pop run, okay? Like we're all just trying to figure this out ourselves. There isn't books on how to run a game store. So when another game store talks to you, you can't help but think, are they trying to screw me over, or are they trying to pull one on me, or are they just trying to make money off of me? You're very highly guarded in the space. I have been burnt by so many other businesses just in the 3 years that I've been doing this. So I understand why. But truly, we're just trying to support game stores, players, and that. But other game stores don't really see that, and so we're struggling with teaching them how, or showing them why it's so valuable. So if you have a game store, or if you have people who you know who go to a game stores, like just letting them know about this program. We would love to try to get it running in multiple game stores. If you, as a dungeon master, one of the things we can do, if Skylar, one of the things we can do is maybe we just have you run the program, and you just find a local game store, and then you just run it, and then instead of the game store getting a cut, maybe you're taking a higher cut. And then after like 2 months of you doing it, then you could be like, hey, guess what, game store? I've made some money, and I brought in 30 players for you. Can we come to the table and say, how can the game store support this? Because the game store does need to support it. It works best if the game store is in on the system. But yeah. Skylar, that's a really good question. Let me see if there's a way we can roll the program out for just Dungeon Masters, that you can run it anywhere, preferably at a game store, but that you can run it anywhere, and that it could support. Is there a way to reach out as players, DMs, to try and connect you with local game stores we currently are playing in outside of the Provo area? Yes, I would love to. Right now, if it's in Utah, especially. Eventually, I'd love to have every game store in the United States, in the world. I want to take over Wizards of the Coast with this program, or Adventures League, I should say. So, yeah, send them my video that I did on replacing that or that. We're working our Dice Outpost. We have Dice Outpost, which is our booking system for games. We're working on making that really solid so we can just show game stores. Here's the website. It's all done. It's all made for you. Just let us let you make money. Maybe a bonus for proof of the adventure being run at a game store. Yeah. Oh, I thank you. I appreciate everyone who's taking a sincere interest in this, because it means a lot. I truly believe I'm so jazzed about this. I think we honestly could have a revitalization of RPGs to make them more accessible for everyone and healthier for everyone, and game masters. Like, I'm so excited. But it's going to be a lot of work. All right. On that note, once again, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for everyone who attended. Thank you for all the feedback. I'm going to go through the rest of the feedback and read it myself. I really appreciate everyone. I do want to do a bit more live streaming. I'm thinking Tuesday nights, honestly, because I try to sneak in some miniature painting or something. So I'd love to do more live streams and talk to you guys more, and be a nerd with you guys. So, all right, I appreciate ya. Okay, I'm interested in a lot of this. Daggerheart, was it? Matt Mercer's personal creation. Daggerheart. Check out Draw Steel by MCDM. I am adoring MCDM, so also check out that. Thank you everyone. I love the comments. Famous by Morning, Shane, Logan, Eric, Trachis, Shathan, DM of the Skellyfish, Crudo Darkness, Skylar. Yeah, MCDM is goated. Watch it. I'm going to try to partner with them. We'll see. All right. Have a good night.